wants a good home, so at the end of the evening you take it home with you, and that will be your memento. Mine has February 1981, love and best wishes, Mike, from the Basildon Players. It's very important. Bridesmaids. I think the bridesmaids look really sweet. And I thought it was really interesting to see their choice of shoes, even though some of them got a bit too close to me because they were kicking me at one point during the ceremony. Because a bit of one-upmanship in the sparkles always is good, don't you think? And talking of one-upmanship, tenuous link, reminds me of a story I heard the other day about a horse and a donkey. And it's an important lesson to be learned for a young couple starting out on married life, I think. And the horse and the donkey met in a bar in town one night and started chatting, as you do. And the donkey said, "What do you do for a living?" And the horse said, "I'm a racehorse. What do you do?" And the donkey said, "Well, I look after children on the beach and giving them rides and let them stroke me and try not to bite the little so-and-sos, that sort of thing. Have you ever won anything?" And the horse replies, "Yep, I won the St Ledger and the Guineas on the flat and the Grand National and the Gold Cup over the jumps." And the donkey is gobsmacked, but he doesn't want to let on how impressed he is. At the end of the evening, the donkey asks the horse if he'd like to come round to his house the following night to continue their budding friendship, and the horse agrees. And in the morning, the donkey is really worried. "I've got to think of something I can do to impress this horse," he says. He's done just about everything. So later in the day, he goes out and he buys a huge picture of a zebra and he puts it in pride of place over his mantelpiece. That evening, the horse arrives, loaded down with a 6-pack of beers and a giant packet of Doritos, because even Gold Cup winners know how to have a good night out. And he sees the picture of the zebra and he says, "What's that?" And the donkey replies, "Oh, that's just me when I played for Juventus." Now, for those of you who don't know, Juventus play in black and white stripes. We've got to spoil it otherwise, but I thought it was a good joke. And it was clean, but it's an important lesson. One-upmanship doesn't matter, I also think it's very important to pass some tips for a happy marriage over to Katie and Neil. And Lorna and I have been married for 38 years now, but I'm going to quote some tips from one of my famous books that was written in 1913. Don'ts for Wives, it's called. So they've proven to be much longer lasting than even that. So I'm going to read a few extracts. They're specifically really for Katie, just to make sure she enters into married life in the right way. Don't let your husband feel that you are a dear little woman, but no good intellectually. If you find yourself getting stale, wake up your brain. Let there be nothing your husband can talk about that you will be unable to understand. Really important. We're still working on that one. Don't omit to pay your husband an occasional compliment. If he looks nice as he comes in dressed for the opera, tell him so. If he has been successful with his chickens or his garden or his photography, compliment him on his results. Don't let him have to fall back on self-esteem all the while for want of a little well-directed praise. Next time he's coming back from the opera, he's dressed for the opera. Don't work yourself into a fever every time your husband omits to turn up at the expected time. He is in all probability neither run over by a motor car, nor robbed and murdered on his way home, nor lying in a lonely land with a sprained ankle, nor in any other of the terrible predicaments your imagination pictures. Probably he stopped at the bookstall to buy an evening paper and so missed his train. Don't think it beneath you to put your husband's slippers ready for him. On a cold evening especially, it makes all the difference to his comfort if the soles are warmed through. And lastly, don't dress badly, even if your allowance is small. Even if you can't have new gowns with every fleeting change of fashion, never have them made in an extreme extreme style so that they may not be too accurately dated. Let them be of good material, dainty and well cut, and there is nothing gained by being dowdy. It's important to share those, I think. Katie, what can I say about Katie? I wrote down here, Katie has been a joy to be around throughout her life, which is absolutely true. But we were sitting talking last night in our little Toad Hall up on the hill, and we discovered that we were told by Natalie that Katie had once told us that we were in the kitchen and not to come through into the living room because they were preparing a surprise for us, and really all they were doing was bouncing on the furniture. Never knew that, and Katie said she still feels guilty about that, so I suppose that's something anyway. But yeah, she has been a joy to be around throughout her life, unless we were trying to give her any medication or reminding her to practice her clarinet. Yes, she used to be a virtuoso on clarinet, and we have many a clip of her and Rachel, come to think of it, at school concerts, one of which I remember had them all with viciously backcombed hair. It's a scary bit of film. It looked like Wurzel Gummidge had taken over the woodwind section. I've mentioned before to a number of people that my mum summed Katie up the best. She said she used to love Katie going to visit her because she lit the room up when she walked in, and she still does. And when I was planning this speech, Lorna said, "You will say something nice about Neil, won't you?" So here goes. No. In all honesty, it's not difficult to come up with nice things to say about Neil. He likes a good beer. And not only does he like American football and follow the Miami Dolphins, but he actually plays the game as well. And in the very position I would have played if I had had the guts to go for a trial in the 1980s with my mate Mike. My mate lasted about half an hour, by the way. He fancied himself as a running back, and they said, if you hear your number called in the play, just take the ball from the quarterback and run like hell. His number was called, but he got a bit confused and forgot what he was supposed to do until the quarterback was just about to disappear under 120 stone of opposition linemen, just shouting, "Take him ball!" His number was never called again. But back to Neil. You will no doubt hear lots about him later on in these speeches, from those that have known him a lot longer than I have. But from my point of view, the best thing about Neil is that he makes my daughter happy, which everyone who sees them together can clearly see, and which I as her father know she deserves. I can only say that I am really happy to welcome him into the Carr family, and I am proud to call him my son-in-law. Katie has found one of the few people other than herself capable of lighting up a room. Together, who knows what they can achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom.
The tradition for the groom's mother to say anything, but it's a bit of a tradition in our family that I write just very short poems on auspicious occasions, and this is the bit that Neil's been dreading.
It's not a tradition we all agree.
No. Did I ask for anybody's agreement? No. Yeah, it's not very long, so don't worry. "I'm getting married, Mum," he said. You can bolt and bar the door. I found a girl I love, he said, and yes, I am, I'm sure. My wish to rid the loft of junk is getting closer now. Count my chickens? Not just yet, until they've worked out how. He's always been one for stuff. Lord knows what he was thinking. The middle of a toilet roll, some sellotape for sticking. Blue tack has unending uses, so does PVA. I can make it by myself, I've often heard him say. There are endless possibilities, both boring and dramatic. I'm not sure how they all ended up cluttering up our attic. My heart goes out to Katie. She won't know what to do with all the half-done projects, a cardboard box, or two. Still, an end in sight, and happy times are coming thick and fast. Play my cards right, fingers crossed, an empty loft at last.
Good. How we doing? Hanging on. This is it's A5 bits long, so don't be too led into a false sense of security on there. I'm just going to hold it because I've read this once, so I have to get used to that. So hello everybody. I haven't done a groom speech before, and I only want to do this once, so buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So now, as is a custom on with a groom speech, there's going to be a couple of toasts. So don't spill any more of your drink or neck at the rest all at once. So I'd like to start by thanking everybody. We couldn't obviously think of a better way of spending our wedding day than with all of our closest friends and family. So thank you so much for coming today. I know some of you made some extremely long journeys, so thank you so much. Next, I've completely lost where I'm good. This is A5. Hit me. So I hope you're all enjoying the day so far as much as Katie enjoyed planning it. So next, thanks to Katie, thanks very much, looks great. And we had so much help from everybody in so many different ways. We've got the flowers on the tables, the sweet table, we've got flower crowns and sparklers. We had garden games, whether it's brightening up, we might be able to actually play a game of Jenga, whoever wants to challenge the bridal party. We've got kids' goodie bags, got the bunting outside, we've got the pallet day plan, all of the wood on the tables, the little baskets of toiletries in the toilet. This is a long list. Robert and Debbie bought all the table wine from the south of France, and then obviously everyone helped us pick the music for later, so if that goes terribly wrong, it's everyone's fault, not ours. We had, I think it was 15 people total here yesterday, helping us manically put this together, and it was like a massive effort from everybody, so thank you so many. There's too many of you to thank in one sitting, but we're so grateful for your help and support over the last 6 months, so thank you so much. Next page. Now, I've had the same group of friends for the last 29 years. I can't trust most of them to help me run a bath, let alone a wedding. So that certainly helped narrow down my ushers to Mark. You can stand up. Mark, stand up. Mark, Dan, and Ben. If you need anything, then just talk to one of these, because we're not going to get it for you. These guys are. You can sit back down now. We were off script, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't want to give them strict guidelines on what to wear today, but I just said to look equally as horrendous as each other. We totally nailed it, well done. And then when I told them that I wanted them to be my ashes, I was quite honest and said, well, it's going to be 90% moving hay bales around, you're going to have to get a gym membership. And they were like, we're not, I think we were quite worried, like, we're not in as good a shape as you, Neil. We're not like, I don't know how I'm going to manage that. No, we'll have hardcore super abs. And, together. And so although there's no physical evidence, they both got gym memberships, been going 3 times a week, and hay bales are in exactly where the position they should be. So thank you guys so much for all your help over the last 6 months. You've been amazing. Thank you so much. Where am I? Well, script. So we're lucky enough to be surrounded by so many little ones from family and friends, and I think instantly Kate knew straight away that we wanted as many of them involved as possible today. So we've got our a hacker. What do I say? Yeah. So yeah, we're really lucky to have these guys, and Kate knew instantly that she wanted them involved in today. So our wonderful little bridesmaids, they look great, right? So they're frustratingly really stealing the show, although I'm a little bit disappointed about the lack of grass lanes so far. We'll see if we can sort that out. If all of our bridesmaids would like to come to the front, Katie has a little present for you. Careful on the way past. I taught these to pickpockets earlier. And a lot of you bought a lot of cash with you tonight, which I'm very grateful for. Your involuntary donations are very much appreciated. So we thought we weren't going to toast this bit, we were going to have a nice big round of applause for our bridesmaids. And to Katie's friends, especially those of you who organised and made her hen do so amazing. Thank you for making the celebration so special for her. I know she'll have a good time. She's no doubt going to need regular breaks from me over the coming years, so knowing that she's got such a great group of friends that she enjoys spending so much time with is a weight off my mind, so thank you so much. I'm glad to have my nana with me here today, with all of us, to enjoy this celebration. Maybe I need to talk a little bit louder. So yeah, I'm so glad to have my nana with me today. She's been a massive part of our life, as well as my granddad. She's always called us rotten. I've got 3 written down here, which are cooked breakfasts, entire loaves of bread when out feeding the ducks, an entire loaf, and unlimited access to all of her free prescription drugs, mainly inhalers and E45 moisturiser. But both her and my granddad were a huge part of our lives growing up, and I can't imagine what life would have been like without them there with us. So yeah, I'm so grateful to have her here with us today. Katie was also very close with her grandparents, and I'm really disappointed I didn't get the opportunity to meet them. But we've got other loved ones that aren't with us here today, so I'd like to propose a toast to absent friends, please. To absent friends. All good. I spilled one. I'd like to thank Mick for your kind words. Thank you very much. Mick and I have always gotten along as a fellow NFL fan. Someone's at the door. As a fellow NFL fan, we talk about how terrible the Dolphins are doing this year. We first really bonded, I hope he agrees, over laying an impeccably level shed foundation in our back garden. And to quote Mick directly, you said, "You couldn't believe it was going so well," which is often a quote I use, at least one I've used quite regularly over the last 3 years. By the time we'd finished laying this impeccably level foundation that Mick couldn't believe had gone so well, Lorna had also been busy transforming the rest of our garden into a rich oasis of horticultural paradise. Who can turn a page? Okay, we're back. So thank you both for making me feel so welcome in your family, and for raising the most incredible, beautiful, confident, charismatic, loving, caring, sweet, affectionate, patient, amazing daughter. It's like a unicorn. yeah, I just wanted you guys to know that I know how lucky I am, and that I'll never take that for granted. And complimentary sick bags can be found under your seat. Thank you to my mum and Steve. Thank you for all of your love and support. You both helped me so much, enormously over the years, and taught me so much, despite my greatest efforts not to learn. Mum taught me how to be thrifty. A self-confessed bargain hunter. We used to bring back our school photos, and she'd photocopy them at the library, and then send them back to the school and print them at a fraction of the cost. You apparently can't do that anymore. I thought that was tip of the day. And then Steve taught me how to check all of my oil levels and tyre pressures, and also, which I'd never do, and also how to turn any item of food into a solid block of charcoal using the microwave. You've both always been there when I needed you, and always encouraged me to make the most out of every opportunity, including this one. Mum always said that if I ever found somebody that could tolerate me, that I should marry her before she figures out who I really am. But luckily I know how to speak Mum, and what she actually meant was make sure that you find somebody who will look after you as well as I do. And there's no need to worry, because I have found somebody who makes me so happy. She makes a great chili con carne, and if I wee or poo the bed, I've got a Katie to clean up for me now. I don't know the metrics on successful parenting, but based on what I've managed to find myself in the way of a wife, I reckon you've done a pretty decent job, and I must have turned out okay. Actually, it must be hard to come to terms with the fact that you've raised such a perfect son, especially after the first one turned out to be such a terrible mess. Globally.
That's a good one, though.
So he's my big brother, and my best mate, and my best man, Bill. Thank you for Thank you for agreeing to be my best man, for keeping me grounded and helping enormously in the run-up to today, and organising the stag do. I didn't actually know when the stag do was going to happen until one day, in the middle of my work-day routine, I was in the most vulnerable of states, but completely naked in the bathroom, and I was home alone. Just heard some footsteps coming up the stairs. But am I wrong to assume that that's in your speech? I will leave it there. Yeah, it's not there. So yeah, I heard these footsteps coming up. And what noise is that make? Hello? It's true. It's a terrifying experience. I didn't like it. But the stag do was very good. So, I don't know. Why did I go off script again? A dreadful mistake. So we've been there for each other through great times and the tough times, and you can always trust brutal brotherly advice. So thank you for being the one person I looked up most in life. And lastly, Catherine Susan Dempsey. I can't believe the grown-ups let us get married. She looks great, right? Smoking hot. I've always looked outwards to my heroes and idols on times like these to answer life's biggest questions, such as, what is love? A wise man once said, it's not about who you want to spend Friday night with, but who you want to spend all day Saturday with. That is one of life's finest philosophers, Woody Harrelson from the Friends with Benefits movie of 2011. He did go on to say, love is when you meet somebody and they literally take your breath away. You just won't be able to breathe. Alright. Which is actually really true, because since I met Katie, my asthma has been a lot worse. Even with now there's endless supply of Ventolin coming out of my ears. Ain't easy being wheezy. So I want to take you back 3 years. Like most handsome single young bachelors, I was flicking through Tinder. I imagine most people know what Tinder is, but for those of you who don't know, it's a dating app where pictures of random people show up on your phone, and then you either swipe left, which is basically like, no thanks, or you go right, and that's like, oh yes, please, right? Do I have that wrong? they swipe right on your face as well, then you get to chat. But if you don't match, if you don't both agree that you like each other's faces, that's it. You don't get to speak ever again. You never see that person again. Game over. Got to move on. Find another person. Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear that. So there I was, aimlessly swiping left. No thanks. No thanks. Every time left, obviously. And then Katie appeared, and both of my lungs collapsed. It was just like Woody said. I kept her on my screen for, frankly, an embarrassing amount of time. And there was just something about her, and something that felt different. And I obviously didn't swipe left, but I also didn't swipe right. Because there's a third option, isn't there? It's a mythical option, one yet that I did not understand. It's the little blue star, the super like. The super like informs that person that they've been super liked, and it forces them to look at your face as well. And see if they like it too. Now, obviously she's only human. So, but by super liking her, I was saying, I think you're proper nice, pretty please when you talk to me, pretty please. And you did. Obviously. The story goes on. But within the story is the most terrifying thing. There was a moment when I hit super like, and she disappeared, off into the abyss. And I had no idea whether I was ever going to see her again. She might not have been interested, which is a long shot, but there's a possibility. She might have missed the notification. If she was away from Cambridge, I wouldn't have showed up in her search. And Katie's age search setting was set to 26. But that day that we matched was my 26th birthday. So I don't believe in fate, but I'd argue that it's more amazing to try and comprehend all of the things that had to align that day for this match to happen. The moment her pretty face showed back up on my phone was and will forever be the best moment of my life. And I'm sure today will be a close second. I could go on and easily waste everyone else's century. I'm going to try and cut this a little shorter. So I just made a list of the things that I love most about Katie. So here goes. It's not very long. I love the way that she leaves my lunch by the front door, knowing full well that I'm going to forget it. I love the way she falls asleep on the sofa and then sits up really quickly and, like, in a confused daze, doesn't know where she is. I love the way she picks up my things and moves them into weird places. I love the way that she likes the yellow and green sweets most, which means I get the purple, red and orange ones. I love that she gets itchy hands when she runs. I love her BBC iPlayer username, which is Katie Carr, Superstar. Self-assigned. You're going to have to change it as well. I love that she pronounces Calippo, Calipo. I love that she whistles inwards. Believable. Talent, damn. And I love that her toenails are so sharp that you don't even notice when she slices you open. That's going to be fun. This is a joyful speech. I love that she shares my sense of adventure, and we've ticked so many things off our bucket list since we've been together, but that doesn't actually make too much of a difference now that my bucket list is 10 times longer. Now I've got something so crazy and amazing to share it all with. Our Mondays feel like Fridays. We make each other laugh. We make ourselves laugh. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We make our wedding guests sit and listen to piano covers of Sweet Child of Mine, Jurassic Park, Home Alone, and Elton John in one sitting. We're so cute, I want to punch us in the face. We've never had an argument. We often argue about what our first argument might be about. There is literally nothing that annoys me about her. There's never been a shadow of doubt in my mind about how perfect she is, apart from once. In our first few weeks of dating, she sent me a very worrying text message, one that stuck with me since and still hurts to think about, and I remember exactly what it said. I have some bad news. Something I should have probably come out and said before now. And I didn't want to scare you off, and now I'm scared that it's gone too far. Please try and understand and know that I really do want to make this work, but I also understand if this changes things. I'm a lifetime National Trust membership. I said that was fun. There's literally nothing else that annoys me about her, apart from when she leaves her hair ties around the house, and hair clips, and hair, dirty Nutella spoons, normal spoons, teaspoons, tea bags. All of Jamie like her more than me. And she always leaves 1 second on the microwave. What is that? When I asked her why she leaves 1 second on the microwave, she said it was because if she didn't, peas would be overcooked or too hot. But apart from that, there's literally nothing else that annoys me about her. People promise a lot to each other on days like this. And I can't promise you the earth or the moon. I can't promise you a perfect life of luxury. I can't promise there will be no more tears and all our dreams will come true. I can't promise I won't put on 15 stone and demand you make brownies for breakfast forever. And I know I can't promise to give you everything that you deserve, but I can promise that I'll spend the rest of my life trying. You see right through me, all of my insecurities and flaws. You see the person that I can be, you bring out the best in me and all of those around you. I can't beat my luck. The best thing I ever did was hit that little blue star, because I don't just love you, Katie, I super like you. So if everyone could please be upstanding and raise a glass to my beautiful wife, the one I love, Katie. Finally, don't be alarmed if in a few moments a slightly older, or much less, handsome version of me starts talking. Keep calm and it will be over soon. Especially you, Lorna. Everything that comes out of this man's mouth is a fabricated lie. Yeah, don't believe a single word he says. If everyone else could do me a favour and just pretend that his jokes are funny, whilst admitting none of his swirls of falsities in your long-term memory, that would be most helpful. So this is my best man, Bill.
Okay. It does feel a bit strange actually, because I've spent 30 years being followed around by that guy, and actually, after that speech, I can tell I'm not only following him around a habit. Yeah, so no real way to follow that. Here goes. Actually, before we start, the person who's lost the roll of £20 note wrapped in an elastic band, if you want to come see me afterwards, I found your elastic band. I had to start with a bad one. We started though, we're going to line it up, forget that stuff. So for those of you who know me already, I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Will. Would you like a drink? I'll be over at the bar later, so if we're not acquainted, please come and introduce yourself. Just ensure you use my full name. I have the honour today of being the best man. I'm also Neil's favourite brother. I'll let you into a little secret about Neil choosing his best man. He first went to the most handsome man he knew, asked him to be his best man. He said no. Next he went to the most intelligent man he knew, asked him to be his best man, and he said no. And finally, he came to the funniest person he knew, and on the third time I finally said yes. Thanks for that, Oliver. As I'm sure you can tell, I'm the older of the two Dempsey brothers. Neil came second, silver medalist. The Cornwall won gold. So give me a wave if you're a fellow eldest sibling anywhere. Thank you. Right, you lot are probably going to relate the most to what I'm going to say today. After all, we were the tester kids who paved the way for our younger siblings' easier lives, as we watched long as they got away with things that we'd probably been disowned for. Today I get my revenge. But first, actually, I'd like to start off with a letter from some people who couldn't be here today. This is from the Cambridge Cats American football team. As you heard earlier, Neil is an active member. The letter says, "Dear Katie, congratulations on your marriage to our teammate Neil. We hope you've had a great day. We found Neil to be absolutely terrible at every position we've tried with him, so we wish you all the luck on your wedding night. Best wishes for your lives together with the cats. Now I feel this is the appropriate moment to give you your wedding present, Katie. I will order your marriage certificates in here, so this is me handing it back over to you, but there is a small gift in there if you'd like to open it up and show everybody what's in there. I thought if you were going to be a wag, you might as well do it in style. So moving on, as I alluded to earlier, and as has become tradition, it is my main job in this speech to tell you a few stories in an attempt to ridicule the group. However, I couldn't do it. I know what you're thinking, Will, you're a great guy, and although that's absolutely true, the real reason I'm not going to tell you too many bad stories is because actually most of them also incriminate myself in some way. So I pulled out a few, but please bear with me, these aren't the best ones. So, where do I start? Well, Neil, Matthew and Dempsey and I, we go way back. We met in the early 90s. The 20th of July 1990 to be exact. Margaret Thatcher was in number 10. Elton John's Healing Hands was UK number 1. Spam was just canned meat. And the only things that tweeted were birds. Yeah, there was a time. I have vague memories of mum bringing Neil home from the hospital. We didn't get off to a bad start, I suppose. Thanks in large to his dimpled bum-like chin, he was generally cute enough to distract attention away from my mischief, but not for quite long enough that my mum would forget to feed me, so it was a pretty sweet dinner, actually. However, it didn't take Neil to realise that I was pretty cool. And as such, for much of our early years, I had what the millennials in the room would have called a stage 5 clinger. For anybody else, this means he's like a second shadow. To put into perspective of his obsession with wanting to be with me for every waking minute of the day, I'll let you in a secret that his own mother helped me create an ongoing alibi to help me buy me the odd few hours respite. The core theme to this alibi was that I had to attend regular and very grown-up meetings for which attendance was strictly by invitation only. It was always really tough though, riding away on my bike, looking back at him standing there, my little hand-me-down dungarees, his sad, teary-eyed face and his little hand waving me goodbye. Yeah, really tough, knowing ultimately I was going to have to return sometime before dusk so the torture could resume. Now, as Neil grew older and made some friends, some of which of you are here today, we did sort of coexist quite happily for a number of years, and I have a number of fond memories from this period, none more fonder than the caravan holidays that we shared with our grandparents and parents. Seriously, if you've not woken to the sound of one of your family members winging into a glorified bucket, you've not lived. These trips to stereotypical UK seaside resorts often resulted in 3 things. Number 1, winning a ridiculous number of stuffed animals from arcade crane machines. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the record still stands at 28 Winnie the Poohs from Skegness in 1999. That's excellent, great. Number 2, highly competitive games of Pass the Pigs. If you've not played Pass the Pigs, definitely have a go. It's a fantastic game, but word of warning, don't play Paul, she's a massive cheat. And finally, number 3, Neil or I would often get lost. That's the third thing that always happened. During our teens, however, we largely had different interests. Mine mainly surrounded sports, and Neil spent a lot of time on the pottery wheel he got for Christmas one year. When he could drag himself away from his wheel, he also enjoyed building dens out of borrowed wooden crates from the industrial estates and the woodland surrounding our village, but later turned his hand to music. This next bit wrote itself. So, after teaching himself to play the guitar, he formed a band with his friends, the Pollen Triplets. Can we have a wave? Tom, Mark and Emma, thank you. They called their band, wait for it, Screwed. And they recorded EPs such as Against the Wall and From All Angles. Get it? Yeah, good. Leave it away. If you're interested to hear some of their material, stick around. I have some tracks with me today. Pretty sure I can slip them into the playlist. Now, as I said, we coexisted very happily during this period, and I can only really remember a couple of of times we fell out, but one time in particular where I received a birthday card from Neil which read, "To William, happy birthday, Mum made me send this." Despite our differences, we've always been close, none more so than our late teens and early 20s, and around the time we discovered a shared love of alcohol and large quantities of red meat. I look back particularly fondly on the period that Neil was at university in Sunderland, where I visited regularly. In the first year, this was at the Clanny House, Paul's residence, where I once saw him eat a slice of Domino's Meteor pizza for breakfast. Well, I say breakfast, it was probably 2 p.m. But this was out of an open pizza box that had been on the floor in a communal hallway for at least 3 days. In his second and third years, this was at the uni house where my trips to Sunderland would involve evenings playing the drinking version of games like Jenga. As you can probably guess, this involved consuming copious amounts of cheap and heinously strong lager that we had procured from, of all places, the local petrol station, to the point where we didn't really know our own names. It was at this point, and this point only, we would then venture into Sunderland town centre itself to our favourite night spot, which meant 2 things. More alcohol in the form of £1 pints and 50p shots, but more importantly, a bucking bronco in the middle of the dance floor. There always was a certain jus de vivre around that city. It's French, go educate yourselves. So after uni, Neil had become the laid-back, laissez-faire sort of bloke that we know today. As the world's biggest control freak with a mild sprinkling of OCD, I won't say this hasn't frustrated me at times. He never really worries about anything until he absolutely has to. Now, I have anecdotal evidence of this from the morning of my own wedding day, where, after getting ready, Neil announced we needed to take a small detour on the way to the venue, to the post office, so that he could renew his car tax, which expired the following day. And more recently, 8 a.m. this morning, where I saw him scribbling the final part of his speech. Unbelievable. Now, as with most graduates, he did struggle with money, and there was a point my mum was getting quite worried about him. Then, in what I'd like to describe as a very Neil turn of events, he came into some grant money, which, although officially meant for the media equipment that he described during the grant application, and much to mum's dismay, Neil decided to put this towards a semi-automatic airsoft rifle. Needless to say, there were a few shots fired that day. Now, with all the stupid stories to one side, thinking back, we really did have an amazing childhood. They say you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family, and I can say with great certainty, I've grown up with a fantastic bloke. Neil, you're a great brother, amazing friend, great uncle to Orla and Jamie. I love you as much as one brother can love another. Mum made me say that. No, seriously, the only other man to have walked this earth who could be proud of me today is Granddad. Anyway, today's not about me and Neil, it's about Neil and the love of his life, his Xbox. God, he loves that thing. Sorry, it's obviously Katie. Katie, let me say on behalf of everyone how beautiful you look today. It certainly is a sad day for single men as another beauty is removed from the available list. As for single women, I've heard the demand for slightly squidgy beer-drinking men approaching 30 with a questionable hairline and a penchant for amateur pottery is shrinking by the minute. So for that crowd, I'm pretty sure today is passed without so much as a ripple. Now, I remember when Neil first told me about Katie, well, he actually referred to her as this bird I'm talking to on Tinder. He mentioned that she was a bit older and asked me, had I ever dated a cougar? And was there anything he needed to watch out for? But as I hadn't, I told him to just crack on, have fun, but be careful, don't get hurt. I hear cougars have a nasty bite. A week or so later, I probed for an update, and he said it was going quite well. They'd had a drinks date and been on a spontaneous second date for sushi. However, he also went on to say that he wasn't getting his hopes up, and he even said, I have no idea why she's still talking to me. She was apparently really hot, and had loads going for her, like a great career and amazing family, and she was without question the most fun person he's ever met. Well, Katie, I found everything Neil initially told me to be absolutely true. I've also gone on to find out that you're as beautiful a person on the inside as you are on the outside, and you're a funny, loyal, kind, compassionate, generous person. I could go on forever. I'm just struggling to read your handwriting. You make a great sister-in-law and auntie. You already do, obviously. You are somewhat of a superhero in the eyes of a number of little people here today. Isn't that right, Emmy? Uncle Katie, pretty cool? Great. So when I first met you, and it was pretty obvious that you were well out of Neil's league, I felt the need to actually ask you if you were serious about my little brother. Now, you told me that he was a really special person, and although this was the evening of my 30th birthday party, and the memories of that night are, to say the least, a little hazy, I'm pretty sure, and you might need just to confirm for me now, that you didn't mean special in a disabled way. You made me a promise that night that you would only make him happy, and I want to say here and now, thank you for keeping your promise. I can tell you for certain you make Neil happy in ways that I and none of us can or should. Now, the moment I knew Neil was going to marry Katie was when he told me about a surprise trip he was planning for her birthday to Italy. He was going to hide clues around Bar Hill to ultimately reveal where they were going and what they were doing. He told me he'd seen this place and he couldn't wait to be there with Katie, and the way he spoke about it was as if she was the only person in the world he could go with. He went on to tell me about all the other places he wanted to go with Katie and all the other things he wanted to do and see together. It was so blatantly obvious he was head over heels for you, and that today was in fact an inevitability. It's been an honour to have a front row seat at the first part of your story together, and I look back at many fond memories of the last few years. The most fondest has to be Centre Parks this year, where our now lifelong battle of Articulate commenced. I look forward to sharing many more years and creating even more memories with you both. So they say you shouldn't marry someone you can live with, you should marry the person you cannot live without. Well, Neil and Katie, today is the day you've managed this very special fit. In my opinion, together the two of you simply just are. And although the path that brought you both here today was far from linear, what matters is you are here. In my opinion, you've each found that one person in this crazy world who makes you more you, and that makes me extremely excited to see what the future holds for you both as husband and wife. And with that, can I ask everyone to be upstanding? So I'd like to propose the final toast to Neil and Katie, the bride and groom. Let's see. Food.